Back again for another week of style with me. Today I've got a really interesting wig that I'd like to share. It's the one that took the longest and probably the largest I've made so far. And to top it off, I made 2 of it within the span of 1 month. It's IRyS from Hololive. Since I was working on both wigs at once, in total I bought 3 100cm wigs and a few extra wefts to cover it all. I'm also using a lot of wire, EVA foam and many bottles of glue and more than a can of hairspray. Wig making is expensive, y'all. Well, shall we get into it? To make the base structure of the wig, I first parted the top and bottom of the hair apart, cut away the middle section, hooked the wire onto the hairnet, then glued EVA foam onto the wire. And I also covered the wire later on with some felt. I started working with the diamond-shaped hair pieces at the end of a hair design. The base was made with EVA foam as well, and I roughly glued a layer of hair over it. Then I'm going in again with another layer. This took a lot of patience as gluing a geometrical shape is not as easy as you think. The challenging part is at the sharp corners. So once I've glued some parts of the hair down, using a steamer, I'm going to mold the hair to fit the corners of the diamond. Here, using a pointy tool like a rat tail comb comes in really handy. Because the steamer is really hot, you want to hold the hair down with something long that also gives you precision. I'm also tidying the rest of the loose hair with a comb. Anyways, I want to go back and talk a bit about why I parted the hair into top and bottom. Since IRyS's hair design is kinda like a long hair that's tight at the ends, except that the hair flows into the shape of diamonds. So logically, the hair flows from her scalp, right? But to create this gravity-defying structure, I will need to add wire bits to hold the hair in place. Hence, I install it in the middle of her scalp. I also did not fix the wire structure onto the wig net until the very end so that I can remove them from the base and work on each strips individually. It's easier to work this way. Now comes the grueling part of this wig. In total, I had 10 strips for each wig and I have 2 wigs to make, which means that I had to glue 20 strips of hair, and if I remember correctly, each strip was around 150cm long. That's a hell lot of hair and glue and hairspray. Gluing hair onto structure also takes a lot of time, so in a day I was only able to make around 1 to 1.5 strips. If you do the math, 1 month is about the right time taken. Since I happened to receive 2 separate requests for this character, I decided to work on both of them at the same time. It's my work habit, because this way I don't have to try and recall how I made the wig before and replicate it again later on. Not gonna lie, working on both wigs at once is really exhausting and drains me physically and mentally. While I did manage to pull through and deliver these wigs within the deadline, I swore to never make this design ever again. So if you just found this video and was thinking of putting in a commission request, I'm so sorry, but I have to turn it down because no money is worth a burnout. Now back to the wig. I tried to edit the video to make it less boring while showing you as much as I can because all I was doing was really just applying glue, spreading it out, then carefully lay down the hair. Spray some hairspray, then quickly dry it with a hairdryer. Because the length of the structure is so long and the hair wefts are much shorter, there are a few breaks in between. So for these parts where the hair overlaps, I apply water-based glue onto the surface to make sure each strand of hair is soaked with glue and is held down securely. Finally, I went in to glue the edges with thin strips of hair. It's pretty much the same process as before. And at this point, I can finally see some light at the end of the tunnel. So now let's start assembling the strips back onto the base wig. I hooked the strips back on one by one, and with each strip after I secure it onto the wig net, I took some hair from the bottom to glue it onto the structure. And you know it, same gluing process. So let's speed things up a little. At this point, I have all 10 pieces up onto the base wig, and then I sectioned off some hair from the top, gluing them onto the structure to cover the top part. Now I'm not taking all the hair to glue it on because I'm saving it for some extra layering and texture later. Now we're panning down to the bottom of the structure. I have tied all the ends of the strips together in place with a thinner wire. I decided to do this first so that they stop moving around. Carefully cut off the excess wire, then I'll further secure it with some hot glue. I didn't film it, but how I attached the diamond onto this part is with the excess wire length that was in the diamond structure. I wrapped it around the ends of this, then covered up the gaps with more hair. Because I felt like there's even more hair floating around, I added 2 more wire pieces on each side. Since these are just thin hair pieces, I don't need to add on the IRyS foam, just sandwiching the wire in between the hair. And by the way, if you're interested to learn a little bit more about working with wires, you can check out my Furina wig tutorial. In my tutorials, I aim to teach you not only for that specific character, but skills that you can transfer to make other character designs. So in that one, I talk about how to make wire sculptures and a few ways to properly glue hair pieces together. You can check it out through the link on the top. Okay, we're slowly finishing this wig. Now I'm taking the remaining hair on top to trim it down, then glue it onto the structure. But I'm only gluing the tips of it and blending it into the wire pieces. This way, it makes the wig look more flowy and natural. We're done with the back, all that's left is trim the bangs. Her hair design in front is pretty standard, so I'm just trimming it following her design while paying attention to the one red highlight in the middle. Prepare for trouble and make it double. Last but not least, I airbrushed the entire wig to give it more dimensions. It's not really obvious in this angle, but I used a purplish paint similar to the illustration on the right. I wrapped the entire head mannequin and even the tripod because of how big this thing is. I don't want any of the paint to get onto my stuff. Also, very important, always wear protective gear while working with airbrushing. There's a lot of fine particles flying around and you don't want them to get into your lungs. The wigs are finally done! They're so huge and took up so much space in my room. Even filming and taking pictures of the final product was so much work because of its scale. But I was very proud of them and kept showing it off to my friends and family. I remember when my client approached me for this, she asked me, "Are you up for a challenge?" It's my personal resolve to always try and say yes to most wig designs, even when I'm not too sure how it will turn out. Saying yes to challenges like this forces me to grow creatively and also solving problems. And once I've done it, I know I can do so much more. Then it's finally time to pack them away and send it off to their owners. For wigs as big as this, it's usually for local orders only. To ship a beast like this overseas, it's too risky and you will be shocked by the shipping fees. I said that the shipping fees itself would have cost you a few styled wigs, which is why I will advise you to find a stylist closer to where you are. So for local wigs that are delivered by car or picked up by the customer themselves, I just pack it well enough that it will be brought to their home securely. Once it's there, I usually advise them to prop it out onto a tripod for storage. I'm wrapping each section carefully with PE foam to protect the hair from any friction damage. Even packing itself took a while to do. Since this whole structure is wired, once I'm done covering it with protective foam, I'll remove it from my tripod then lay it into the box. For a wig as big as this, I also have to assemble a few cardboard boxes to make it fit. Then I'll take some photos of it to show it to the customer that it has been securely packed. Finally, I'll close out the box and bid farewell to my wigs. And with that, we've come to the end of this video. I hope you really enjoyed this one since it's a wig that's much more complex than what I've shown you before. Please support my channel by subscribing, liking, and let me know if you dare to try to make something as crazy as this. And I'll see you again next week. Bye!